the chair of this committee, and I am happy to have some new faces here. I think today we're going to get a number of updates from DYCD staff and have some presentations. So I guess we can get started with the presentation piece.
Okay.
I saw in the calendar invite there was maybe a change in presenter.
In the presenter, it was supposed to be Harold Miller, but he had a family issue that he had to take care of. So we have Sam Stanton, who's the Senior Policy Advisor and Legal Counsel for the Racial Justice Commission.
Great.
Should I take it away now, or are y'all
Sure.
doing more intros?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. I have like a deck to share with y'all. Can you see this?
Yes.
All right, so thanks for having us. As you heard, my name's Sam Stanton. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor with the Racial Justice Commission. Really excited to be joining y'all. I'm just gonna give like a quick overview of our work thus far, kind of what our mission is and where we've kind of landed and where we're at, and then maybe I'll just open it up for questions and comments. So the Racial Justice Commission, we're a Charter Revision Commission, which means that we're looking at the city's charter, which is like the city's constitution, and our mission is to uproot structural racism through changes in the charter. So as folks know, structural racism affects literally every aspect of city life. So we're looking across all kinds of issues. Over the past several months, we've been to every borough and we've held almost a dozen panel events, speaking with community members, thought leaders, experts, practitioners about their big ideas for structural change in the space of racial justice. We've been looking at all kinds of issues, like I mentioned, criminal justice, housing, land use, environmental justice, civic engagement, and you name it. We also actually had a special public input session in collaboration with DYCD a couple months ago, where the youth voices kind of were able to talk directly to our commissioners about their priorities for racial justice, which is incredibly informative. So we've been having all these conversations and learning a lot and understanding like how racism has played out in our city. And just a couple weeks ago, we issued our interim report, which I'll also share with y'all in the chat. If you can go to our website at nyc.gov/racial justice, and our report is up there. And our report summarizes what we've heard from all these conversations that we've been having, and we've identified 6 patterns of inequities based on everything that we heard. So I'll go through those with you, and then maybe I'll just leave it open for questions after that. So these are the 6 patterns that we've identified in our report based on everything that we've heard. Inequity in quality services. So what we're talking about when we say that, we're talking about access to getting your basic needs met, whether it be education, housing, childcare, your ability to access government services. So that includes things like language access. The second thing we've identified is inequity in work, advancement, and wealth building. So what we've learned, what we've heard from folks is that people of color are concentrated in low-wage jobs that are often also unprotected jobs. And in particular, we heard this with regard to women of color, and the way that folks are concentrated in jobs and are then, it's compounded by folks' inability to kind of move out or move into other positions. And further compounding that is the legacy of decades and centuries of divestment from people in communities, which has created the racial wealth gap. Third, this is one that we heard quite a bit from community, inequity between neighborhoods. So meaning, why are some neighborhoods well-resourced and others have so many waste stations concentrated in them, right? So thinking about how the legacy of redlining and institutional discrimination has created this disparity between different neighborhoods in our city. And then fourth, marginalization over criminalization. So I think most folks kind of this maybe the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about racial justice is our criminal legal system and how people of color are treated within our criminal legal system and the harm and the trauma that's been created by that. So we're thinking about that, but it's not only policing for us, it's also the culture of marginalization and surveillance, the collateral consequences, the way that the stigma attaches to people for life. And so this was something we heard quite a bit about, also as it relates to mental health. Fifth, we heard about inequities in representation and decision-making. So as folks know, city leadership and city workforce is actually very diverse, but in many city agencies, we've noticed that leadership is striated by race and gender. So the people who are in actual positions of power tend to be more white, more male, more upper class. And so we're thinking about that. And we're also thinking about how do we get more community voices in government, and how do we actually listen to those voices when they're consulted and not just have a listening session and then nothing happens. So thinking about ways to empower people's voices. And last but not least, enforcement and accountability, which is kind of like the crux of it all, is how do we make sure that all the great things that the city wants to do actually happen, and that agencies are held accountable when they do those things or they don't do those things. And so these are the things that we're identified based on what we've heard. Right now, we're in a place where the next phase of the commission is we're coming up with ballot proposals to amend the city charter, and they're going to be on the November 2022 ballot. So like a year from now, they'll appear there. But at the end of the year, we're going to issue our final report, which will have our ultimate ballot recommendations. And let me see what other slides I have. So I think we have a couple more input sessions coming up next month. I'm going to share some links in the chat for y'all, so you can check it out. But right now we're really interested, since we've released our report, we're really interested in getting any feedback that folks have. Are there any things missing from what we've heard? Are there any other like recommendations that folks have for us while right now we're kind of in the thick of figuring out what those ballot proposals would be. So now is like the time for us to hear any other additional ideas or thoughts. Let me see what's on here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I would have like a list of our other engagement on here, but I'll drop it in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'll share those links in the chat, and I'll just pause there for questions, comments, ideas for us to digest.
Great, thank you for that presentation. I think it's definitely very aligned with the kind of goals of the CAB and a lot of the programming that the CAB is focused on. And also, given that we're going to be conducting a new community needs assessment that's coming up, I think that's something that a lot of this kind of background work is just really informative kind of going forward and just understanding more community needs. So maybe the report is something that we can put in the board packet or just share out a link to the report. So I think a lot of our members would probably be really interested.
Yeah. We'll put the information in the board packet.
That's awesome. Thank you. We'd love to just get the word out about the work that we're doing and get input from folks.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Sam? Okay.
Did you have Sam? Did you have health disparities and healthcare access on that list?
That's a good question. So we did hold a specific panel event on health inequities, and we had folks talk to us about that. And we've also spoken with Department of Health and gotten recommendations from them. The way that we've kind of articulated the inequities, it doesn't call out health specifically, but it is kind of captured in the way that we're talking about access to services and the way that there are disparities between neighborhoods, right? So like we see how there are different health outcomes depending on where you live, depending on where things are cited. So we're thinking about it kind of in that dynamic way.
Yeah, because the citing of those factories and the waste transfer and the smoke and the electricity and all of that has contributed a lot to health issues.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is it a possibility that we could get a copy of your slide presentation?
Yeah, I'll see if we could share that out.
Sure.
It has sort of like a lot more, I kind of clicked through it really quick because it has a lot of background stuff and it has a list of like events we already did on there.
Okay.
But honestly, I do recommend checking out our website. There's a lot of great information. It's very snazzy. We kind of had it updated, so it looks very cool.
Oh, okay. So we'll give out the website also, which is great.
Sounds good. Any other questions or comments?
Guess not.
I think
You can
maybe we'll give people.
you can unmute yourself if you have a question. Or if you think of a question later, you can put it in the chat and we'll get it answered.
Hi, this is Mari Moss. I wanted to know how many proposals are you submitting for the ballot considerations in 2022?
Yeah, so we haven't gotten to the place where we know what those proposals will be. So I can't give you a number, but I will say that our goal is it has to be a manageable number because we don't want to overwhelm voters. So we've identified 6 patterns of inequity. I would think that we'll probably end up having ballot proposals in that ballpark. Something kind of a more manageable number that folks can actually digest, even though we know there's just so much that needs to change and be restructured. We'll only be able to kind of balance that with what's actually digestible for the voters.
Got it. And also, how will you get the information out? Because I think even now there's 5 proposals on the ballot for November 2nd. And I don't think, there was an informational last night, I think hosted by the NAACP, which I wasn't able to attend because that was last minute. But a lot of people don't know
Totally,
about
yeah.
these proposals.
And though, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that you all will have at least 2-month, 3-month lead time of information for these proposals so that people can at least have the education and information prior to going to vote.
Yeah, totally. And just for clarity, the ballot proposals that are coming up on this election are actually proposed by the state. So the state was kind of in charge of doing that. The next phase, once we, issue our final report and get the ballot proposals out, it will be a campaign to educate folks. So we will be doing, up until the next November, we'll be doing outreach and education on the proposals.
Great, thanks.
Thanks for bringing that up. I think, especially with this election coming up, I don't know how many people actually know that there are a number of ballot proposals on the ballot. I don't think we've gotten that much information about them. So it's definitely appreciated. I think a campaign would be, an education campaign would be a really great part of the advocacy. Great. Well, thank you for your presentation. I anticipate that once people start looking at some of the materials you've shared, they might have more questions or might want to attend some of the information sessions or events that you've shared as well. So looking forward to kind of diving a little bit deeper into all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for inviting us. And I think y'all have my contact information. So any
Yes.
questions, feel free to reach out anytime.
Great.
All right,
Thank you.
have a great
you.
night.
You too.
You
Take
too.
care.
Okay, so now we are going to move on to a presentation about community activities during the pandemic. I don't know if is Jeannette on the call? I can't see everyone.
She's here. It's the one that says Brady Court. Court.
Okay,
That's Jeannette.
great. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. What I would like to share is that Brady Court Cooperative, we are a large co-op in the Pelham Parkway, White Plains section of the Bronx, and we take up a city block. What we have done during the pandemic, we have a community center that prior to the pandemic, we used, to rent out so that our residents or families in the neighborhood could have different events to build community. What we did during the pandemic is we partnered with the Everlasting Church. We partnered with anybody we could to bring needed food and PPE and services, both to the Brady residents and to the people in the larger community. So we were able to use the space as a hub to distribute canned goods or fresh vegetables, whatever we could get. We would distribute masks and hand sanitizers. We also did a Halloween grab and go and a holiday grab and go, each time for 300 children in the area, so that during the pandemic, they had a little something to look forward to. We also offered the space to any individual or organization free of charge who could provide needed goods or services to the community. So it became a hub for many different things and has grown and expanded as regulations. We had an individual who runs a project called the Yahweh Project. They specifically provide services for youth. And they came in and they did a pop-up clothing giveaway. So youth could come and get clothes, whether it was for school or interviews, and come and it was both a clothing pop-up and an opportunity to get a decent meal and have a place to socialize in an appropriate, safe space. The Yahweh Project did a second event called the Pottery Wheel, where young people could learn both how to make pottery, but at the same time, the focus of the workshop was on positive affirmations and feeling better about yourself. They're going to be doing another event tomorrow night for young women between the ages of 13 and 19, and it's going to be a young woman's empowerment workshop. So we've been doing many different things to build community. As the COVID regulations have become more flexible, we've been doing flea markets, which are an opportunity for not just building community, but people to come out and make a little money, which is very important, especially these days. And again, have a safe space. We did our first at our last flea market, we had a young man who was a self-published poet come out and share his poetry and promote his work and his books. And he very much cares about social and racial change. So it was both informational and an incredible event. We did our first food festival in the community center where not only people were able to come and socialize, but it became a hub because the same night we had one organization, the Albanian Open Hands Association, came and brought fruits to distribute free. Christian Amato, a Christian community organizer, came and brought masks to distribute PPE. We had a 16-year-old who is self-taught on the guitar perform his original music. And this is a young man who happens to be manic depressive, and it was such a positive experience for him to have a platform not only to perform, but to get the praise and the recognition for something that is important to him. What I find is because we are doing so many events here, we're finally getting the attention of different people, and they are contacting us to see if we need a food giveaway or to see if we need PPE, or even now the Botanical Gardens checks in with us and gives us free passes. So by generating the ability to do all these different events, it's organically just growing and blossoming. And people are actually asking if we will go to other areas to talk to them about doing the same thing in their area, because they see the impact it's having here at Brady. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
That all sounds really amazing. And I think the connections that you've been able to make and just the response that the community has been able to have throughout the pandemic in order to make sure that people's needs are met is really, really amazing. So thank you for sharing all of that. I think some of the things you've done are truly unique. I mean, the clothing drive and the art classes, and I think bringing that sense of connection to community during this time is just something that was really needed. So it's really amazing, and thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
I think the ability to offer space for these things to happen is key. But it's a great community building effort.
And it is incredible. The Everlasting Church actually gave Brady Board the Neighbor of the Year award for 2020 because we gifted them our space for their efforts of what they were doing to try to help during the pandemic. It just is incredible when people can come together and figure out what they can do. And it just blossoms and grows.
If anybody wants to ask a question or make a comment, please unmute yourself.
A quiet group tonight.
Very quiet.
Maybe everyone's tired from the past week.
Mary, you have something?
Yeah, this is Mari Moss again. So I wanted to know, because it sounds like you're doing so much there. How are you able to sustain all of that work? I mean,
I'm the board president here, and technically 3 years ago I retired after 40 years in social services. My daughter and my grandchildren will argue that I have not retired. I've just now taken on a full-time unpaid position. But I spearhead a lot of these things, and I've created a network, and I have volunteers that I can call on. So I've created a group of people that are as passionate as I am about doing this. And I'm not going to, minimize. It is a lot of work. But I see the value it brings. And I see the change. I see the change here at Brady. I see when I walk in the neighborhood and people just come over and they say, when are you getting something? Just checking in, seeing how appreciative people and families are, seeing how when people start to do a little bit better, they come and they like, will you take this donation? How can we help? It's a lot of work, and you seriously, you need a point person, and then you need to, gradually build your team and your network to sustain it. It definitely helps that we have the space that we can use. But it's so worth it in the end. And it's something that, I can tangibly see. And it's just very important. That being said, if any of you need a space to do something, you are welcome to contact me. If you would like to brainstorm ideas, you are welcome to contact me.
Well, thank you for all that you do. Thank you very much. I'm sure the community really appreciates it too.
You're welcome. I think my biggest reward, I moved here to Brady when my daughter was 14, and my daughter and granddaughter came to the food festival. And afterwards, my daughter said, "Mama, I lived here. I lived here for years, and it was nothing like this." And she said, "I hope you are as proud of yourself as I am of you, because this is incredible." And it is incredible. It is incredible to see what's happening here and how it's changing people and how it's directly impacting their lives. And even, as board president, we had to struggle last year because there were so many people were furloughed or downsized that they could have lost their homes. And we had to get very creative. And this year, with the things that we were able to do that did bring some additional monies in, made a difference so that none of those people lost their homes. So things come to play, and they intertwine, and they come together, but it's also very important. And it also helps because sometimes you feel so frustrated because there are a lot of things that you would like to change. And I certainly go to enough meetings and do and write enough letters and sign enough petitions because I want to see bigger changes. But this gives me and my community a chance to see some tangible changes that we can actually affect. And I just can't say enough how important it is.
We can really tell how committed you are, and really appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Thank you for joining us and sharing that with us.
You're very welcome, and it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's move on to I guess our regular agenda. So we are going to hear now an update about the NAB membership and recruitment from
I just
Susan.
I just wanted to say Mike Bobbitt, our Deputy Commissioner for Community Development, has joined us. And also, and Ron
Hello.
Zhang, who is our Associate Commissioner, has joined us. So, Mike, did you have anything to say before we go on to just our business as usual?
Sure. Thank you for recognizing me, Anita. I guess a couple of things. Thank you, Ariel, for use of the mic for a minute. And good evening to CAB members, if there's any NAB members
And
who've
anybody?
joined. I caught the end of the presentation. Great presentation. Thank you as always. As regards strategic partnership in this group's work, it remains very important, and so I'm excited and I try to join when I can. I'll recognize in a minute, Ron is the Associate Commissioner. He's going to be working very closely with Anita in my former capacity, just as I have trying to work in Sandy's former capacity and keep a close eye on everything the CAB is doing and try to get us to the new paradigm. And I think strategic partnerships is an important part of that new paradigm where there's appetite to coach, through the CAB to coach strengthened, healthy, robust NABs, and that is a multi-year process. We finally have a great team at DYCD that's not just in place, but all kind of on the same page and pulling in the same direction. And we welcome the NABs pulling in that same direction too. It won't be that far in the future when we have a whole new community needs assessment to do. So I know it may seem premature because we're talking about the NDA RFP, and that's a result of a very fine and robust community needs assessment. So it's not always tied to a community needs assessment. And so I think it's important when we think about all hands on deck for members and volunteers and for other people in the community, that they continue to recognize this group, this CAB, our team. We're always trying to be a listening post for the city. We always want the NABs to be familiar, NAB members to be familiar with what DYCD is funding and promoting, and to be a listening station for us that carry stuff back to us. I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about being very explicit about representation. And I don't have a whole lot to say about that right now. I think it's more the case where you'll probably hear me saying consistently why representation is important. Every NTA that comprises every NAB has CSBG eligible citizens living in it, and they need to know about our programs. And if they're in need, they need to come and access our programs. So we will continue to look to every NAB to wrap their arms around the entirety of their community and reach out to a neighbor and a friend and a colleague and a rabbi and a gym teacher and everyone, so that we try to pull off that lift. No pockets unaddressed. No one in the community that we try to wrap our arms around doesn't know what we're up to and what we're trying to do. And by having big, lofty, nearly impossible goals like that, that's how we deliver on the mission. So we're going to deliver on the mission, but only because we're all pulling in the same direction. So I'll stop there. And if Ron wants to say anything, you're going to hear from, see Ron more often again. And I'm glad that we have this team, everyone pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hello to everybody and thank you, Mike and Anita. I through the DYCD work here, been last 25 years, I have heard a lot about the NAB members, the CAB members, volunteering their time to work and getting the needs of communities, known to us, so the funds could go to the right communities to address, issues. I'm really always very impressed by the work you do, especially, you're doing on your own time. And see, this is late in the afternoon, you just get started a meeting. So I'm very impressed. This is my first meeting. Sorry I was late, but I will try my best to attend as many meetings as possible. And I'm working with Anita, so I'll get to learn more about your work. Good to see all of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you to you both for attending and for your partnership. I think we can do a lot of great work together, and I know Mike has been really enthusiastic about the Strategic Partnerships Committee, so we're excited to welcome you on board, Rong, and work more closely together.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ariel.
We can continue, Ariel.
Great. So let's move on to the NAB membership and recruitment update from Susan.
I'm sorry that Susan could not be here today. She had a death in the family, so she's on bereavement leave.
Sorry to hear that.
But she sends her regards to you. So the NAB membership and recruitment update, out of the total number of NAB members that could possibly be is 492. Right now we have 280 NAB members currently, which is about 57% of that number of the 492. 184 of them are DYCD appointees, and the 96 are elected public official appointees. So that means we have another 251 actually, that we have possibilities of recruitment. So we're working with the boards, trying to bring in more people, and we are doing it, but it's happening very slowly. Hopefully, as things open up more, we can spend more time in the community and with community events, and also get people to come in. I must say that with Jeannette and NAB Bronx 11, the last meeting we had with them, they had 2 people there who were coming to the meeting to see what it was all about and our potential applicants for the membership. So that's the way we're moving forward. We're asking our members to bring in people who they think might be interested, because all of our meetings are public, so you can always give the link to the meeting or the phone number for them to call in, and they can just listen to what's going on. The other thing that we're going to do now is to put the CAB meetings, the CAB in full, and also the committee meetings, and that's why this meeting is being recorded. We're going to put it on DYCD's YouTube channel, so it'll be available to everybody to see at any time at their leisure if they can't make the actual meeting. The CAB meeting also will be streamed live on the YouTube channel the next week going forward, because we're required by city and state law to have public meetings, and it's been a little bit difficult with the remote meetings, but this is how we're going to open it up to more people. So hopefully that way we'll get more people wanting to be part of the NABs also. So that's the recruitment update right now.
Have the NABs made that announcement that the CAB meetings are available or will be streamed?
No, because that's something that's like really new, and I'm working with our communications team to get our meetings up on the YouTube. So we will, once that happens, we'll blast it out to all of the NAB members, and that way they'll know that they can tell their neighbors and give the link to their neighbors. So it's been very successful with our barbershop talks that we've had over the past year. So we're hopeful with the CAB it'll be the same success. And there will be a place where people can, a chat where people can write comments. And if they ask questions, we can answer the questions. So it should be good. It's great to come into the 21st century.
Are applications online now? Is that
The application is online, but it's still a paper application. We will accept, if somebody downloads the application, it's on DYCD's website, which is nyc.gov/DYCD. They can fill it out and they can take a photo of it or scan it and send it to us. And then we will process the application. We do need a signature on the application, but we can get that at a later date. But if they want to submit an application, we're working to get an online application that's fillable and can be processed online. But we're still a little ways away from that.
one step at a time? I think
Yes,
the YouTube,
we're trying. But the YouTube thing is really good.
The live stream is really an exciting step.
Sure.
I think it'll
Just
open
curious.
up.
Yes.
Oh,
question.
sorry. I had a question in regards to the YouTube. Is there a subscription, or like, 'cause I know sometimes you have to subscribe to a channel?
No, you don't have to subscribe. You just have to go to the DY. You can just put DYCD in the search and you'll come up with our YouTube channel. And you'll see all the activities of the whole agency, not just the NDA programs.
And also, Facebook is a good platform too, where you could create a group and you can have like different topics in the group. I just a suggestion to move, like, use a YouTube platform, but also use Facebook in the group, and then you have different topics within the group. And that also you can keep a idea of who's attending, and maybe even create an email list on that listing.
Oh, great. So
membership.
We're going to enlist your help, Mr. Toomer. I'm so glad that you're part of the CAB now. And coming to this meeting, you need to be a member of this committee. This is where all the partnerships happen.
I'll be very happy to help out. But I know Facebook has been a tool that I use in different organizations. It's good to know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That is good to know. So we can talk more with our communications unit here at the YCD to make sure that things like that can happen.
Anita, also, this is Mari Moss. So
Hi, Mari.
we've been talking about this on our board as far as, recruitment on the, granular level, because we have, seats. But then we also realized that some of the elected officials in January, there'll be a whole new slate of elected officials.
Yes.
I don't know if they know, some of them, that that they can designate a representative to the board. So we drafted a letter that we can send to elected officials so that they can know that they can, recommend someone to the board as their designee.
Sure.
The other thing we were thinking of is, I'm so excited that you guys are going to be uploading these meetings to YouTube, because then it's easier to share with people who are interested in joining, so they can get a taste of like what it encapsulates, what it's all about. And I think that'll help them get some excitement towards it as well. But I think also, utilizing, and I don't know if this is a marketing communications opportunity or something, but utilizing some of the stations that people listen to. I know I'm thinking of Angela Yee of Power 105.1. She does a lot of PSAs, things like that.
Yes.
Charlemagne the God is talking a lot about mental health awareness. And then I went to school with DJ Envy, so that's like a given, but at Hampton University. But anyway, I'm just thinking that we could utilize some of these aspects and just drum up support, and because once people realize that these boards are instrumental in helping drive funds to the needs of the community, I think that really gets people to be more aware of not just the needs that are needed in the community, but how to address them better. So
Yes.
those are just things I'd like to suggest and things that we've been talking about on our board as far as implementing and getting more widespread knowledge of.
This is great, Mary. We would love for you to come to these meetings also, because Ariel was saying at the last meeting that we need to have one meeting where we're discussing recruitment opportunities and how to get more people on the board. So we would love your input and those of your board, the other members of your board, to talk about what you're doing. And yes, we've been talking with our intergovernmental affairs unit as well, and we're getting ready to blitz all the new city legislators that we're going to have come January. So, and Ariel, I know last time you said we would have a specific meeting to discuss all of this. So it could be the next one that's in January.
Yeah,
So,
I think that I was going to say that I think that makes the most sense, that we can spend the next meeting just talking specifically about strategy related to
and we
recruitment.
appreciate the input of the NABs, and we appreciate, of course, of our other CAB members. So we will promote that meeting widely so that you can participate. But these are all great ideas, and it's going to become part of the minutes of this meeting.
Yeah, I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
that thinking.
This is great.
And I'll make sure that I emphasize that in my report out, that we're going to spend the next meeting really focusing on the recruitment piece, especially given that we're going to have a whole new council
Yes.
and administration.
Yes. Okay. So right now we're in the middle of, well, we're just starting the evaluation of the proposals that have been submitted for the new funding of the NDA programs. We had 3 trainings for our external evaluators, which are the NAB members and CAB members. We have about 5 CAB members that are also going to be evaluating proposals. And so that happened within the last 2 weeks. And now what we're doing is we're going to get those proposals out to our external evaluators. Some of them are going to do it online, and some have asked for a hard copy. So they're going to do it the old-fashioned way, read it and write down their comments. So all of that is happening from now until the beginning of December. And then in January, they'll come together after they've made their evaluations singly. They're going to come together as a group of people who evaluated the same proposals to discuss their scores and their comments, and to have a consensus of which proposal should be awarded the contract. So all during that process, that's where our focus is going to be pretty much. But the staff and I will be, the staff is also reading. So during this time, we're not having any NAB meetings because those, as I said before, are public meetings, and we don't want to have the perception that somebody could come and campaign for their proposal. So we won't be having any of those meetings. But also we won't need to have this done and out of the way so that we can then go and do other things like this recruitment meeting, like getting things on YouTube and Facebook, and making sure our elected officials understand what the NDA funding is in their community, and why they need to appoint people from their community to be on this board. So we'll focus on that probably towards the end of January. And so we've come a long way, because we've been doing this for the last year and a half with the after the priority setting, and then waiting for the RFP to be, the request for proposals to be published. So here we are in the end part of it, the good part of it, to be evaluating those proposals that were submitted. And then as for SYEP that I've been trying to get to come to our meeting for the last 2 meetings, what I didn't know is they extended the summer work session. So the SYEP just ended. I think it was last week, or it was maybe the week before. So they're very busy there. They were running program from the beginning of July through last week. So once they get through all of that, I think we can then have them to a meeting and they can talk about how this period went.
Hi,
Hi, who's that? Oh, Linda.
this is Linda.
Hi,
How you
Linda.
doing?
Welcome, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Ariel. Hey, how you doing?
Good, good.
Good.
So, so that's pretty much what I have. If there's any other issues that anybody
Just
needs.
For the NDA awards, when are
Mhm.
those expected to be made? At the end of January, or
At
is
the
it?
end of January, February. These programs will start in July of 2022.
Great. Thank you for all those updates. Anyone have any questions or comments?
No, not at this time.
Great. Any old or new business or other issues that people want to talk about?
Wait a minute, I missed the whole meeting. I'm
You
thinking it's
sure
starting
did.
at 6.
No, you have to read the, I underlined it and bolded. This meeting
Oh.
always starts at 5, Linda.
Oh gosh, you know what? I didn't see that part. I knew we was having a meeting today, but I didn't even look at the time. I just ran home, literally ran home.
Yeah, I'm
so
sure
I
you
could
did.
be on time. I'm sorry, Aria.
It's okay, next time.
Okay, I'll give you a full report next week.
Okay, great.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. It's 5:56.
Motion accepted.
So
Second.
only
do we
cab
have
members can second.
Do we have another cab member on
Yes,
still?
we have Paul Mai.
I second the motion.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, everyone, for attending, and it was good to see some new faces. We're looking forward to talking more intensely about our recruitment strategy at the next meeting in January.
Great. Thank you, Ariel.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.